you have to understand, do I want to stay self-employed and make 500K, or do I want to be a business owner making 300K? Because there is going to be drop off there when you automate, delegate, put people in place. So if your main like goal is, oh, I want to make as much money as humanly possible, usually you're going to have to stay in the business longer and be more in that self-employed stage longer. But if you want to live a lifestyle, you want to travel, maybe take a little bit of a pay cut because you're not actually directly working in the business as much. That's when you're kind of getting into running a business.
If you've like watched a lot of podcasts about like there's so many that do like these crazy intros and like all this post-production nonsense. You're like, I thought I was just listening to a conversation, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just like to keep things easy, man. But well, man, how's it going? First of all, thank you for coming on. And you
Yeah.
just
Thanks
hit
for
your
having me.
first, of course, you just hit your first $25,000 month, man. How's it feel?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's obviously great. But you have to have that sense of like humbleness too. Like if this isn't where you want to stop, you can be like, oh my gosh, like let's go. But I will say honestly, it's a little underwhelming because I thought it was going to feel a lot better than it did, honestly. Like, I was shooting for that number and it's like, oh, if you get that number, like everything's solved, like every problem solved. And then you kind of hit that number and you realize, like, dang, like I just want to keep pushing. Like, that's kind of sucks. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of annoying that it didn't just fulfill all my desires.
Yeah. I mean, what did you think it was gonna feel like?
I don't know. Like, I thought it's like, that point, like you have as any money that you need, which I mean, really, that's like a fine amount of money to live on for sure. Like even running thin profit margins, I mean,
Sure.
30%, you're still making well above like average, I'm pretty sure. So, um, I think one, it's more of a sense of fulfillment that you actually did it more than the money. I think it's less about the money and more about like what you built, how you got there. I appreciated that more than the money amount, like 10x. So I think it was more about just like understanding, like, okay, if this all did get taken away, I'm confident I'm the person that could get it back. Not instantly, like I don't think I'm like that type of person, but 3 times faster than I did the first time. I think that was a big like realization of Alex Hormozy said it like when he lost all his
Yeah.
money, he realizes that the skills he learned wasn't the businesses he built, but it was the skills he learned along the way. And that's why he's able to do acquisition.com, like all these big businesses. So I think yeah, that's kind of describes it.
Yeah, that goes into like what everybody says who's does anything hard, really. Like it has nothing to do with actually like finishing it or finishing first or being the best or getting the goal. What you end up
Yeah.
reflecting most on is how you even got to compete in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for a lot of real estate agents to hear as well. Like, after you find out selling a house is possible, like your first sale, maybe even your second sale, you're like, okay, I know what this looks like. I know what this feels like.
Yeah.
Now it's just about scalability. And if,
Exactly.
if you live in
Exactly.
that win, like if you live in that win almost too much, you think, oh shit, I can sell houses. I can do anything I want. You probably won't sell houses for a little while. Where if you do something, kind of handle yourself, like you just said, like don't live in that win too much. Recognize that, okay, now I've developed a skill set. I just got to make it bigger. So I think having an underwhelming approach to a win like that is the way to go. Otherwise, you get stuck in this cocky loop.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree because if you like stop now and like I blow that money, it's like you start living in the moment. You go and doing it's like some of these activities, like because I will say it was a pretty big jump. Like this month from last month was a 10K jump, so that's pretty big for me to be
Damn.
like, wow, that's a lot of extra. Yeah, like last month was like 16 or so, so that's a huge jump for me to be like, dang, like I cracked the code. Like let's go like spend some money, but in my head, I know that some things fell together. Like I need to analyze how I hit that so I can hit it again. It's not just gonna happen again by default. Like it's gotta, you gotta keep putting the work in. You can't get comfortable. And I think you hit the nail on the head there when you said it's kind of just proof of concept. Like
Mhm.
getting to 25K a month or even 10 or 5 is all such a mentality shift because you're your biggest enemy, like at the beginning. Like just even understanding that it's possible is a huge delusional mindset shift that you just have to have. Because I feel like I was always the type of person, like even a while ago, I had like a YouTube channel. And it's like when that first dollar came through, I was like, okay, I just got a 10x. And then when that $10 came through, okay, I got a 10x. When $100 came through, I just got a 10x. So you really got to take it one step at a time. So when you make that first dollar online, just, okay, I got to do 10 times more of the work it took me to get that dollar. You get $10. Okay, I got to do 10 times more work, input, leverage, and got me that $10. And you just got to keep going and going. And yeah, same with any business that applies for any business model, real estate,
Yeah.
podcasting,
And they
SMA, it
get their
doesn't matter.
plateaus though, right? Because like once you get like the core set of skills, like it's not as hard. So like something that I really
Exactly.
got hung up starting my SMMA, and we haven't gone any background into what both of us even do yet. But something that was really intimidating, actually hard for me to hear from the Alex Hermosis, the Joel Kaplans, those people of the world, is like they would say something just like what you said is, oh yeah, you just have to do 10x what it did to make your first 100. Well, what does that mean, dude? And it's like
Yeah.
10 times the energy to make this first 100. I just killed myself getting this first
Yeah.
100. So there is like a level with your skill set where you just have
Yeah.
to, applying the skills is easier because now you already have them. You just
Yep.
have to
Yeah.
do
It's
it
that
over and
leverage
over
word.
again. Yes. Yeah. It's that
Yeah.
leverage word. And I like how you described it. Before we go kind of any further, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do so the agents that are out there listening to us right now are like, actually know,
Yeah.
have some context.
Yeah, yeah. So essentially basically what we do is just run I don't like the word marketing agency because we do things a little bit differently. We don't just kind of come in and provide the exact same service for everyone. We do kind of dabble around and change some things depending on the agent's actual goals. So we have like a huge calculator with all our averages where we'll plug in their actual like what success mean to them, whether it's sales volume, transaction wise, and we'll see based on all our company averages, cost per lead, lead to live transfer rate, closing rates, all that stuff. What do we need to actually do to help you hit that goal? So it's basically just a tailored strategy for agents looking to grow with cold traffic, turning strangers into customers. Agents, it's a completely different ball game, crushing it with referrals and coming into the cold lead, cold traffic game. Um, and so we're looking for agents that actually want to know and learn and start converting strangers into customers. And that's a big like frame we set in our calls. It's like, hey, look, like these leads do not care about you, like you, trust you, like this is not going to be an easy conversion. We're looking for an agent that's looking to crack the code on converting customers and strangers into customers because that's where the scaling is. And so, yeah, we essentially just come in and implement this funnel that we've built out inside of their business for them to keep also. If they stop working with us, they get to keep everything. So we're trying to solve a long-term solution, not just a short-term solution when we come in. We build it out, we just manage it until they don't need us anymore, until they hire their own ISAs, their own ads manager, their own CRM guy. And essentially, our biggest thing is we're trying to solve a long-term solution for you, which is client acquisition for agents, because no agent is taught how to run a business or market themselves in real estate school. So there's so many lost agents out there right now, and we understand that to help anyone, we can't just provide a 3-month, 4-month solution. We need to actually
Right.
give them something that they can keep and help them understand, like, hey, what even is a funnel? What even is client acquisition? Like a lot of these agents, they don't understand this. They're not taught this out of real estate school. So that's kind of essentially what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's so much more than just a lead gen company because it seems like lead generation was like the hot business to start the last few years.
Yeah.
Um, so like what you're doing is it's more than just marketing. It's more than just like housing and understanding data, which is essentially what marketing companies are. You're really trying to provide, like what you said, a long-term solution to help these agents grow into what's they have is a business instead of just being self-employed, which is something you just talked about in one of your recent YouTube videos.
Yeah.
You talked about the difference between being self-employed and being a business owner. Can you kind of touch on
Yeah.
what that means?
Yeah, exactly. And I would even say like this is no hate. Like I'm in that self-employed stage as well. It's like you got to build out of it. But I would say, yeah, a lot of real estate agents think they're like business owners. And you're not really a business owner until you can like step away from the laptop and stuff's like the business is still running without you. You can go on that vacation without opening your laptop, things like that. So a lot of agents and business owners are actually just self-employed right now, and that's fine. Like that's probably just the stage that you're in at the moment, which is the business has you have to be there for the business to function. If you have to be there for real estate transactions to close, then you're probably just a very high salary or even possibly low salary, just self-employed person in your own operations that you've built. So yeah, that's just a big difference is understanding that you're self-employed. And if you want to stay self-employed, that's fine. You have to understand, do I want to stay self-employed and make 500K, or do I want to be a business owner making 300K? Because there is going to be drop off there when you automate, delegate, put people in place. So if your main like goal is, oh, I want to make as much money as humanly possible, usually you're going to have to stay in the business longer and be more in that self-employed stage longer. But if you want to live a lifestyle, you want to travel, maybe take a little bit of a pay cut because you're not actually directly working in the business as much. That's when you're kind of getting into running a business. And I think every person that gets into this game has to understand where they want to go. Do they want to stay in the game and do everything and shoot for the high numbers, or do they want to live that lifestyle business? That's something you got to figure out kind of on your own. It's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah, you are the first person I've ever actually heard say publicly that if you're looking to actually like run a business and like be the head of a business without doing any of the work, you actually have to take a pay cut.
Yeah, a lot
It's
of the
it,
time, yeah.
yeah, which makes sense. People have their ego attached to their bank account, right? So they're like, "Oh, I'm going to be a business owner, so I'm going to be a multimillionaire." When really a lot of the reality of the situation is your top employees are millionaires while you're
Yeah,
taking home a passive, half a million a year, which is very respectable,
exactly.
but kind of
Yeah,
recognize what this actually is. You're not working
yeah,
a quarter the amount that your top employee is, at least should.
yeah.
So therefore they're getting paid a lot more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's exactly the reason why you look at the biggest companies in the world and you ask anyone off the street, like, who owns Amazon? It's like Jeff Bezos. And it's like, well, like, how much stock does he own? It's like, there's much more people involved. Sure, he's like the founder, but yeah, you have to realize that you can't do it on your own unless you do want to stay, self-employed, and just kind of do all the work yourself. But yeah, I think that's a big switch for sure, in mentality and just understanding. And that just comes from indulging in people that are smarter than you, reading books, watching podcasts. Like, people are telling you this stuff already. You just got to kind of listen and figure out who you want to take as an authority. Because obviously you can't take everyone as authority. People start saying different stuff. You're combating yourself. So some of those top dogs for me is like Alex Hormozy. Like, I just take everything he says as like just like I don't
It's
even
gospel.
care. Like, I'm not even gonna even consider the fact that he might be wrong. Like, I just think he is right on 100% everything. So when someone comes over and conflicts his idea, I'm just like, I don't care. Alex Hormozy's smarter. Like, and that could be good or bad, but I think you kind of have to focus in. That focus thing is just how many things can you say no to and stick kind of doing the same thing. And I think that's really, really important too in the beginning of stages of even getting to 10 to 25K a month is not switching the niche, not switching the offer, not
Yeah.
not switching service delivery, not switching your outreach method. Like, you can crack anything to 10K a month. Now, if you start getting into the bigger numbers, you're like, okay, maybe we have to figure out something here. Like, when you're smart enough to understand actual bottlenecks in your business, when you're just starting out, like, again, I was in this stage too. Like, you're just stupid. Like, you're just stupid. So you can't think you're smarter. Like, oh, this outreach method's better. Like, you probably have no idea. Like, you're just going off no like data or anything yet. So at the beginning, it's how much can you say no to? Just stick to the outreach method, stick to the niche, stick to the offer, learn that stuff, and dude, you can get to 10K a month with any niche, any outreach method like possible. Like, probably, I don't even know, like, probably DMing people on like, I don't even
Dude,
know. I can't
I
even
have
think
a
of something
I have
like
a friend that
Pinterest or
has a
something.
yeah, for real though. I have a friend that runs a dog poop scooping company. That's
Yeah,
that's
there you
his whole
go.
business is he goes he and it's like $12 to scoop your yard too.
Well,
It's dirt cheap and it's same day service and all he did was cold call. Cold call neighborhoods and then walk up and down
exactly.
for neighborhoods with dogs and say, "Hey, $12, I'll scoop your shit." And now he's got like 20 employees, 5 vans.
There you
It's the
go. Exactly.
craziest
Yeah.
thing in the world to
Yeah.
watch because he's like, I did this so I could have beer money.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so, like, yeah, that's the crazy thing. And I hear Iman say that a lot too, is like, you'll meet the people in the craziest industries that are just printing cash. Like, he said, when he charters like jets or something, he'll ask the flight attendant like what the owner does, like, a lot of the time. And the flight attendant will sometimes say like trash management or waste management or something,
Yeah.
like, just completely like, you can make millions of dollars anywhere in any industry anyway. Like, in the world. So if you think you can't, that's what I was telling you at the beginning, you're your worst enemy for the most part. It's having that mindset shift of quite literally anything is humanly possible. Like, and it bonus points if someone's done it before you. You got someone like Elon Musk that's trying to do something no one's ever done ever. Is different than you going to say, I want to build an SMMA that hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of people have done. So
Yeah.
if you get in your own head there, like imagine when you start getting to the top, like now for me, there's less people that have went from 25K to 100 that have went from 0 to 25. So I all I'm doing is saying, okay, well, it's clearly possible. Look at all these people have done it. It's not an option that it's not possible. I'm just either worse. I'm not as smart, and I got to work on that stuff. But a lot of people are their worst enemy at the beginning, saying like there would be people that would just say it's not possible when hundreds of thousands of people have done it, and it blows my mind, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, just because they've never been shown. They never even have anybody in their life, period, that has made any sort of significant amount of money.
Yeah.
And like I'm actually one of those people. I grew up without a single idea of what money was like, and it wasn't till luckily my mom had the very unfortunate experience of losing her job when I was like 11 or 12. She got laid off
Oh,
from
wow.
Microsoft, and she was forced to put herself back into school and go learn what's called phlebotomy, which is like becoming a lab technician, learning how to test blood and draw blood and
Okay.
things like that.
Gotcha.
She got a job in Issaquah, which out here in Washington is like the richest town that you could
Oh,
possibly
wow.
live in. So we went from like living in the hood of the hoods, like all hoods, to
Yeah.
living in the richest town in the state. And like going from people, riding the bus to driving Mercedes and Bentleys. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I don't think if I would have had that
Yeah.
experience of being around other rich people and learning what it looked like to actually have money to carry yourself this way, there's no
Yeah.
way I would have ever thought those things were even possible.
Yep. Yeah, I think, yeah, to go back on that, yeah, it's easy now in the positions that we're in to look back and be like, gosh, what are you guys doing? Like, but yeah, exactly. Like we were in that position too. Like I live in a town of like 800 people. You guys can look it up. It's Ashley, Indiana. Like it's like it
Oh,
is
yeah.
not
It's a
like
tiny little town.
yeah, so it's like it's yeah, you do not see any of that stuff. And even the school I went to, like the rich kids were people that lived in the suburbs, maybe their parents are brushing six figures. Like, so you have to branch out. Like if you want to, like a big thing is like respect your family, like love your family, but you have to understand if you want different stuff than they have, they don't have the answers to your questions. You gotta like love them. Like I'm not saying that at all, but they don't have like the skills you need or the knowledge that you need to get to where you want to go. And that's just something you have to understand. I was watching the Jubilee podcast, I'm sure. It was like
Hmm.
rich kids versus poor kids, whatever. And the girl was saying, like, my parents have worked so hard and they have nothing to show for it like this. And you kind of have to detach and like not under think that your parents are this like perfect, like they know everything. They like can teach me how to make money, like all this stuff. You just simply, I think the best way to do it is look at where they're at. If you don't want to be where they're at, then you gotta like you can if you want to be where they're at in relationships, okay, take relationship advice. If you want to be where they're at in sports, okay, take that. But if you want to not want to be where they're at financially, then that's something you got to pick. Hey, I'm going to learn that from someone else or look in other areas for that. And the biggest thing for me was my senior year, never read a chapter book in my entire life, like throughout school, like seriously, like ever. I picked up Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I mean, it's such a typical book. It's so common and cliche, but that book just changed my life. Like
Yeah.
it was the whole like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna buy rental properties, like, and this is crazy, like, and then that's what got me into SMMA is I was like, how can I make money to get these rental properties and get these down payments? And I was like, oh, I'm looking online. How can I make money online? Like we all like literally start there. I think that's
Yep.
important for people to understand. Iman started there, like Alex Hormozy started there, like literally searching on their laptop, how do I make money online? Probably same thing you did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's huge. Like you said, yeah, you're just not open to it. And that's the crazy thing about the internet is like you get to see it's a double-edged sword because you also like I'm like, dude, like I'm behind. Like look at these 18-year-olds making 25K. So it's a double-edged sword, but it allows you to see that stuff that you wouldn't see. You're looking at you can go on Instagram and see all these reels in Dubai. Like
Yeah.
you can either be like mad about it or you can light a fire under your butt to like, oh, I want that. And you have to understand that it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you find yourself in kind of the self-employed entrepreneurship world? Like, did you have a traditional upbringing? Did you go through traditional educational? Like, what does that look like? How did you end up here?
Yeah, so public school, my dad works in a factory for Nucor. You might be able to look up the company. He just switched there. He used to work at like a really bad factory, like I don't know if I had to guess, maybe $18 an hour, like his whole life. So my this is a crazy story actually. My mom had me when she was 15. So my dad instantly out of high school enlisted in the military. He was a little bit older, like 16 or 17. So it was like another year or two for him. Instantly enlisted. In the army and was I didn't see my dad like growing up like really at all. He was gone for like 6 months, a year and a half, kind of from maybe like 5 or 6, he was like home. So my mom would just get the paychecks that he'd send home and just take care of me. So I'm very, very close with my mom. Like I didn't care about my dad like growing up. He was never around. Like he'd come home from the military. I was just scared to see him. I like didn't want to hug him, like things like that. Like seriously. So so for me, I didn't have a lot of you expectation, I guess. Like none of my like cousins are really doing anything. None of my family members are doing anything. We all live in this town. No one's out of this town. So there was literally no expectation. Like if I wasn't going to go to college, there was zero, oh my gosh, like you're not going to college. It was like, okay, you better work in a factory or you better get a job then. Like, but there was no it didn't matter what I did as long as I wasn't doing drugs or in jail. Like school grades didn't matter as long as I had a D and I was going to go to the next grade. It didn't matter as long as it's not an F. So no expectations, I guess, is the best way to put it. And I just told my mom and my grandma that the other day. I was like, I literally told them I was like, it's annoying that you guys will never be disappointed in me because like there's no one to hold me to a standard. Like I come home and I'm like, it's annoying that yeah, it's annoying that you guys will never be disappointed in me because it's like it just sucks. Like I need a standard or else I can't be around here. Like I gotta leave and I don't want to have to leave. Like can you guys just like hold me to a standard? But it's never gonna happen with these type of people that I'm around. So I would say that one, there was no expectation. So I had no peer pressure to go to college or to go be a doctor or anything like that. And I kind of just, I don't know, figured out like myself, like younger, eighth grade, I started a YouTube channel. So I was trying ways to make money. I just never took anything serious, I guess, until it was like, hey, you're graduating. Like, figure it out or else you are
Yeah,
going to have to
it's
get a job.
time.
So yeah, I would say I was dabbling around in that stuff at a pretty young age. Eighth grade, had a YouTube channel, was making Fortnite maps. The most I made was like maybe 3K. In like 10th grade, like yeah, like a freshman or not a what is that? Not a freshman or like sophomore or
Sophomore
freshman,
year.
off Fortnite maps. So I still have the
Okay.
YouTube channel up. Yeah, I still have the YouTube channel up. It's got like 10K subs. You guys can check it out. It's MC Plays, MCPLAYZ. And I would just make these Fortnite maps and people would play them and use my code and you get like money for people using your code and playtime and stuff. One of those videos ran up like 500,000 views on YouTube and I got like cash to paycheck. So I was always doing some stuff
Okay,
like
so you
that.
were like an affiliate for Fortnite,
Yeah,
basically, just
yeah,
making maps and
yeah.
selling them to your buddies.
Yeah, so it's kind of something like that. Yeah, and now if you look up the Fortnite numbers, I mean, it's mind-blowing. People are making millions off these maps. So yeah, so I got out of the game before it was a huge opportunity. But basically my junior senior year, it was okay. Like you've been dabbling around, like you actually got to find something. And I just thought SMMA was a more sustainable business model that was going to teach me a lot more skills than making Fortnite maps, I guess.
Will it? Oh man, I think I could argue both sides of that right now.
Yeah, do you know you know what's his name? Um he was in RSC, he does the Fortnite stuff.
Oh no, dude, I don't know. I have a few RSC guys coming on in the next few days. Like I have Ismail and I are hopping on tomorrow.
Nice, nice.
I had Dylan on last week. He
Oh
was
yeah, I saw that. I
actually
saw that.
he was the first introduction back to the show, and that was a fun show
Nice.
because him and I have
Nice.
not talked since kind of everything kind of blew up in his face a little bit.
Yeah.
But I gotta give it to him, man. He handled himself really well, and how he's progressed into the next stages, like I'm not sure I could have done it any better.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a killer. Definitely someone that I look up to and would take advice from any day, regardless of um any other area of his life. He's a killer in business. He's a great marketing guy. I take tips from him in business marketing any day of the week for sure.
Yeah, I mean the dude's a killer, and the 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 point is, and I think that's something. If you haven't listened to this episode, like anybody listening, please go back and listen to it because if you're worrying about fucking up, Dylan fucked up huge, and he admitted it. But he took what he learned from that, applied it, and is now 10xing a new business because of it. Were some feelings hurt in the meantime? 100%. My feelings were hurt in the meantime. Like, I was pissed off at him, which is kind of why I wanted to have him on. I wanted some clarity. And all he did is handle himself perfectly. So, I mean, hats off to that guy. I can't give him enough
Yeah.
praise for
Yeah, I
how he
agree.
exited that. Um, so when you're growing up, I really like what you said about not having a standard that you were held to, because I grew up very similar. My mom had me at 19. Um, Immediately was kind of disowned by her family, was kind of
Oh,
put out,
wow.
hey, you're on your own. So she's like, all right, bet. So my mom and I have very much a like brother sister relationship. We had this understanding that we never really had to talk about. It's like, look, you can't be in trouble because I can't be around to help that. And I need you to help me, whether it was save money to pay bills, whether whatever it was. But there was never that standard of, hey, I need you to get these grades. I need you to go to this college
Yeah.
or anything like that. But what she was able to do was put me in a scenario where I kind of made those decisions for myself. Education was not my thing, but I knew the people that I wanted to work with eventually hung out at school.
Yep.
So I went to school, and some of
Gotcha.
my best friends in the world came from there.
That makes
Um,
sense.
and I wish I would have told her that, like when I was like 18, like I wish you would have set me to a standard, because that's exactly what I was missing. It was if somebody would have been like, "Hey, you have to do this, and you will achieve this." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay."
Yeah.
But since I didn't have that, like I put myself right into entrepreneurship immediately. Start a business, failed. Start a business, failed. That's the only thing I knew how to do. Um, Man, that is such a powerful. I've marked it like 4 times now, and you're going to be getting a cool clip from that, because it's such an important thing. And for people who don't
Good.
have that, for people who don't have a standard, how would you solve that problem for them?
Yeah, I think kind of just what I hit on earlier was like one, you have to understand that your parents might not have the answers to everything. And again, like I said, the double-edged sword of social media, it allows you to see a lot of crazy things that you can see what's possible, a lifestyle you might want to live, the cars you might want to have, the family you might want to have, the lessons you might want to learn. Um, I think you just have to. It's literally the first thing to like anything. It's like you just have to be delusional at the beginning and understand like it is possible. Like it's very like cringy, sure. Like at the beginning at the stages, like for example, like I cut out some friends. You're posting the pictures on your story. Oh my gosh, this book is changing my life. Like read this book. Like you're posting the YouTube video clips on your story, like saying, hey, watch this. Like you don't have to do all that, but like you have to go through the stage of it's possible. And the only way to do that is, for my example, I got a recommendation to read that Rich Dad Poor Dad book from a guy that I was friends with from wrestling. I saw him post on his story. It was Rich Dad Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich on his and he comes from money more so like bigger house, like well set. So I was just like, which one did you recommend reading first? He said Rich Dad Poor Dad for sure. Went out of my way to buy the book off Amazon and read the chapter book the last few months that I was in school. Because when I was outside of school, I was never reading a book. I just couldn't. Like I was playing video games, I was doing something else, hanging out with people. But in school, I just hated school so much that I would have rather read. That was the only time I was reading books. I haven't read a book since I've been in school. That's like my bad thing is like I just hate reading. But I took it out of my way to buy the book, read the book, try to dissect and understand what's going on here. And so yeah, like if you're not like you have to be willing to like do something like because you can give anyone advice like hey go read Rich Dad Poor Dad. They still got to buy the book and read the book. It doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
um yeah, I think yeah, and I think really too like to hit on what you said earlier, just kind of the upbringing thing with having a standard, for example, our parents, it's like it's just it's less serious because they don't have the basis covered. So the family that kind of has more stability, they have food covered, they have bills covered, stuff. So they are now their next important is grades. More so, maybe you're growing up like maybe bills weren't paid, so it's like I don't care about grades right now. I care about bills. So it's more of a fight or flight mode at the bottom where it's like, okay, yes, if bills were covered, maybe I would care about Braxton's grades. Or if Braxton's grades was good, maybe I would care about him getting into a good college. So I think you have to have the basis covered at the bottom level for them to really pay attention. Cause it's like if you're trying to get bills paid, like, yeah, if you're trying to put food on the table, like the necessary stuff, make sure your kid has clothes on their back,
Right.
it's hard for you to care about grades that maybe like from my standpoint, my girlfriend, really good grades. Grows up like straight A's, like if she's getting B's, like it's like she's crying, like she's studying. And so when we have kids, I know it's gonna be hard because I see it as like grades do not matter and do not
Hmm.
determine you as a person. It doesn't determine your knowledge or anything. Or maybe more so she's gonna be like, no, it does determine a lot of things. So it's, it's just I think it's also maybe the masculine and feminine imperative too, for men to just be like, like that's to see past the psyop and be like, it's completely just like, I don't think school in itself is a scam, but in judging someone's ability to, um, I think good grades maybe shows that you have discipline, but only discipline for school. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
show that. Like I was a hard worker. Like I'd go to school, maybe get Fs, but I cut wood with dad all day in the back, like, so it's different.
It's like an
It's
obedience test, is how I always
it's
thought.
yeah. So you have to understand that. You have to dissect it and understand that. Like, okay, if I get good at school, I'm getting these skills, but maybe I'm not getting these skills. Like you have to dissect it. And personally for me, I think I could care less what grades my kid's getting unless he's one of those kids that's like lashing out, being like stupid, like
Right.
completely not applying himself. Like I will say when I started applying myself my junior, senior year and was getting better grades, it was very simple. Like I was maybe just being a completely lazy, like piece of shit the past years. But it's gonna be hard for me to look at my kid and think he's like stupid because he has bad grades because I think it's all just BS.
Yeah.
Like so it's hard, but I think that's your job as a parent to look at that and determine kind of, I guess. And I mean, you being a parent now, like you're moving into that stage. How old's your youngest, if you don't mind me asking?
She's 9 months.
Yeah,
nine
so
months
like
and
you're
just
getting
kind of started walking and starting to
that's
talk
awesome.
a little bit.
Congrats, bro.
Luckily, thank you. Luckily, my wife and I were both awful in school. Like that. So like when we get to that point, we've already had many discussions. Like, okay, we're probably going to end up going a more like homeschool community
Yeah.
route with a lot of extracurriculars because that's what
Yep.
was good for my wife and I. Like, I I don't think I ever passed a class ever. But all the teachers wrote me letters of recommendation to get in the next grade. All the teachers loved me. They knew that it wasn't had nothing to do with what was going on up here. It was that this class is bullshit, and I
Yeah.
need to go figure out how to make money somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I learned that from a very young age too. Like in elementary school, I would say like I'd be in like third grade and I'm like, my cousin would not do anything. We were in the same grade always. And I'm like, "How is he getting to 4th grade?" Like, I just remember being younger and being like, "He doesn't do anything." Like, when he gets home, he leaves the house, and he grew up in a worse household than me, so he was escaping, like, and I fully understand that looking back on it now, why he maybe wouldn't have been so focused on school, but like, at a young age, I dissected it, and I was like, "How is he getting to the next grade?" Like, I'm doing my work, I'm passing the classes, I'm doing the reading articles that we're supposed to be doing, and he's completely not. Like, I'm so confused. He got to 5th grade. How is he getting to 5th grade? They're telling us like we got to do good. Like I'm so confused. Like so when I figured that out, and then especially in middle school, like middle school, you get into a much bigger group of people. It tends to be you see a lot. It's more amplified of elementary school. So I'm seeing 10 times the kids doing bad stuff and still going in the same grade as me. And if you're an A plus student, like that should piss you off. Like this, like cool. You go to graduation, you get a cool thing around your neck, and maybe an extra college looks at you. It's not gonna be a Big Ten. You're not going to Harvard. You're not going to Princeton, like anything like that. Like, so that like would piss me off. Like, I tell my girlfriend, like, it doesn't piss you off that I literally graduated and I can get the same job as you. Like, if I wanted
Yeah.
to, like, that should piss you off. Like, I had D's and C's, you had A's and B pluses. Like, so I think that's just something you have to understand that sir, maybe it's a little bit important, but people that take it so seriously, like my girlfriend, she's stressed out so much, crying, like it is not worth that. Like it's you
Yeah.
have to take a step back and realize it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I think one of like my greatest mentors is my best friend. His name is Nick, and his dad's name is Bryn. I met these people when I was in like seventh or eighth grade. Um, and immediately I liked my buddy Nick because I thought he was also a super poor kid. The way he dressed, he was very nice. The way he just kind of carried himself. Turns out, one of the richest kids in the whole school.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And his dad, Bryn, owns a shipping and import and export company, international business all over the world. Started it in the '80s, and he was somebody that was always kind of pushing me into the college route. And the way he laid it out was, look, college has nothing to do with the things that you're going to learn there, with the things that you learn in a seat, with the things that you're going to study. Absolutely nothing. College is to figure out, one, how to get ahead without actually getting ahead. It's to figure out how to cheat if a class is impossible. It's to figure out how to bed that girl that you didn't think that you could. It's to learn all these things in society that you simply cannot be taught unless you're around a whole bunch amount of different people and you're trying
Yeah.
to do things. That's what college is for. That's what you're paying for. What your professor says about DEI or about Napoleon doesn't matter. You're not going to remember it. Just appease them, but then go figure out what the skills are that you actually are developing here and focus on that.
I think that's good. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it like that. Like all the skills you're gonna learn as a byproduct of going through the process. That's a good I hadn't thought about it like that. That's a good one.
Yeah, it was really eye opening for me. Now, did I take that advice? No, but that it was able to kind of open my eyes to anytime I enter a room. Like when I joined RSC, for example, I got sold on a dream with RSC. I knew from the second I joined that sales call, I was like, I'm signing up. Like just because it's gonna put me in a room of 300 plus agency owners who are all trying to do the same thing that I'm doing, and it's gonna get me a bunch of phone numbers that I'm gonna be having conversations like this down the line.
Yeah.
That to me, that's worth the money. What they taught, most of it was anything I could learn on YouTube, nothing special. But what I've gained from it is now now we're both in the same Discord channel. There's, maybe 30 of us total, some maybe 12 of us active. We're all running, multi six figure businesses on a year to year basis. And we have an active clientele constantly. That was
Yeah.
worth the partnership that I had with them. And if you can go into school or really walk into a bar and be like, hey, this isn't just a bar, this isn't just a classroom, this is an opportunity for me to have a conversation with somebody that's going to take you to the next level. If you can do that in every room that you're in, doesn't matter how smart you are.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Yeah, for example, like I was just in Texas with Asa, like met him
Oh,
through
nice.
RSC, like yeah, like so that's yeah, it is that stuff. And again, you have to take advantage of that. And I was talking to Asa about that too. Um, Asa's a go-getter, like, and I
Yeah.
I like that about him. Like he pulls the trigger on stuff like quick. Like I'm over here more so like, yeah, like I'll like kind of consider it, like think about it, and he really just pulls the trigger, and that was something I kind of admired about him. And I was talking to him about in RSC was you can join RSC. For me, I joined RSC in the beginning of stages. I was like pretty just quiet, like just didn't really talk on the call, was just kind of consuming what everyone else is saying, not taking the advantage of the opportunity that was in front of me. So there's so many times like you can sabotage yourself by, for example, getting that red advice to maybe go read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but not purchasing, getting in that group, but maybe not speaking and asking your questions. Going to an event, but maybe same thing, not asking your. So you might there's times where you might also think too as a person like, okay, I'm taking advantage of this opportunity, but really maybe there's a lot more opportunity that you can be kind of having there because um yeah, I would kind of leave those calls and maybe still have questions, and I was like, dude,
Yeah.
like what are you doing, so it's like, so the opportunity was there. I was in the calls, but so that's something huge I've learned too, just kind of being with Asa was, he hops on the call, it's boom, question. It's like, hey, how are you guys doing? Like he's very, I would say I'm more extrovert, or what
Introverted.
is it? Introvert, and he's more extrovert. And being with him, that was a good kind of for me to realize I want to be more extroverted because the type of game that we're in, you kind of have to be to get what
Yeah.
you want. Whether it's knowledge, whether it's a yes, whether it's a lot of things. So that's kind of something that I'm working more towards. But great example, like you said, only reason I'm learning this huge skill for myself because I paid to be in a group that you would not even think could ever lead to something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
yeah,
it's kind of like lead generation on a much larger scale. Like this is like the leads of lead generation. You know? Like
Yeah.
I'm collecting these leads that are friends so they can teach me how to collect leads for clients.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Leadception there.
exactly.
So I've always noticed that since I've known you the last year or so that we've been chatting, you've always been able to stay cool, calm, cool, collected, like just kind of your cadence. Um, Most people, dude, are living in this world of just anxiety and fear, and they bounce between the two realms like it's like they're passing it like a joint. I don't know why. You seem to always stay right here, real neutral. What do you do on a day-to-day basis or maybe a weekly basis that able to keep you so level-headed and while you're achieving something so complicated?
Yeah. It's a good question because I do feel the emotions like for sure. And maybe it doesn't show, but yeah. I would say like there's a lot of times where I have a lot of anxiety, but I would say I'm very, very privileged in the fact that I did grow up in a household where that was kind of not even a thing. Like it wasn't even talked about ever. I don't even know if I ever heard the word anxiety growing up. Really. So and my mom's the type of person too, like, she'll go to the hospital for something, and maybe she'll say "You have anxiety, you need to take these medicines," and she'll be like, "Fuck off," like, "I don't care." Like, so
I like your
I'm
mom.
privileged in that fact. Yeah, so I'm privileged in that aspect of things where I understand the emotions are there, and I'm fairly well at dissecting myself and understanding that. There was a pretty big thing towards the beginning of the year. I was having a huge ISA problem. Like we were not getting any live transfers for any of our partners for the most part, and I was like, I literally told my girlfriend like, "Hey, like I gotta take a step back. Like I do not know how to solve this problem. It's really honestly the first time within the business I have not known like how to solve this problem," and I was really like stressing out. Um, and I'm sure, the people around me maybe saw that, but on a higher level, maybe for example, you guys, it's obviously a lot more difficult to see that. So I definitely deal with I don't want to say, I don't deal with those emotions or anything, but I grew up, I guess, in a way where it was just like, "Hey, cool," like we all do. Like we all
Yeah.
feel that way. So get over it. I feel that way about paying the bills or the credit card debt or, whatever it is. So my health, like, no one in my family is very, very healthy. So it's that constant, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's
that's an interesting thing that you just said. So you have not only kind of taken the financial higher path, it seems like, and the educational higher path, even though you did it in your own way. But it seems like your health has played a big part into that as well. Actually, I remember seeing in your form one of your most activity things that you do is go to the gym. Do you think that has a play into how successful you are as an entrepreneur?
yeah, that's an interesting question too, because I think it does and it doesn't to a degree. The gym isn't work. So it's like it's not input. It's not cold calling. It's not doing the cold calls. It's not running the appointments. It's not getting better at sales. So I think that's why you do see a lot of I mean, you see obese people that are rich for sure. Now discipline is a huge thing within business. So I think the gym builds a lot of character discipline. If you want to look a certain way, you got to do a certain thing. If you want your business to be a certain way, you got to do a certain thing. So I think obviously, of course, things always carry over. But in regards to being successful in business, I don't really think the two correlate too much. There's always this huge like dynamic of people that run businesses go to the gym. But it's like, honestly, like, I think there's seasons. If I didn't go to the gym and just worked on the business would probably grow way more than if I was going to the gym. Some people are different. Some people go to the gym and they're like, "Hey, I'm more productive when I get home." Asa, I would say, is one of those guys. If we weren't going to the gym in the morning, like, he probably wouldn't get as much done. As more so me, I would like prefer to just like lock in for the day and not go to the gym. But if he didn't go to the gym, he kind of was off the race. Like, I didn't go to the gym today. I can't get anything done. Like I already messed up my day. And he's not a negative person in that sense where he doesn't have control over like being able to
Yeah.
say, okay, sure, first part of the day was messed up. I'm locking in now. Not necessarily that, but um, I think it really, really does depend on the person, the dynamic that you have. For example, Charlie Morgan says that, while building Imperium Acquisition, he went on a 6-month fast. So it's seasons, I think. It's seasons. But for me personally, I don't think the two correlate insanely much. That's why you see a lot of rich people are overweight. But but
because they never got
maybe
back
in
to
there.
the season.
Yeah, yeah, maybe they never got back to the season. Maybe in the earlier stages they were into the gym and stuff, but
Well,
maybe they just
it'd be
never got
easy to
back to that season.
justify if like you stopped going to the gym and then you made $20 million. You're like, do you know what? I'm never going to the gym again. You know,
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah,
easy to connect those dots.
yeah, and I agree too with what Dylan said in the last one. He's like, these people that say they don't have time for the gym, they're just probably just stopped doing it for something else, which is 100% like true. Like maybe if
Yeah.
I'm not going to the gym, maybe I'm just supplementing it with another hour and a half of sleep in the morning or something. Like maybe sometimes you are completely fooling yourself and you are lying to yourself. And I would say that's probably the case most of the time. Um, but I don't think the two directly correlate like exactly. I think if you want to get up and work, you can build $1 million business. If you want to get up and go to the gym and then work, you build $1 million business. I think it just is a big discipline thing. If you set yourself to a standard, I'm going to work out and then don't. Okay, well that's an issue. If you don't have the standard of working out, for example, I less so have the standard of I need to work out because it's my standard. Asa more so did. So he's fooling himself and feeling like a piece of crap because his standard was more gym than me, and maybe mine was more something else.
Mhm.
So it depends on the person. If you're not hitting your standard, that's an issue. Where if you're feeling bad about yourself because you didn't do the thing and it's not good for your discipline, then that's an issue. You need to kind of self-reflect on that. For me, it's energy drinks. I'm very like it's bad.
That
So
was your
my
vice.
standard, yeah, yeah, like nothing else. Like I never really drank, smoked growing up, like at all. So I guess it seems maybe a little bit like childish, but just energy drinks
No,
are
not at all.
terrible,
Dude, Netflix
terrible.
just put out a documentary about energy drinks. It literally came out last
Really,
night. Yeah.
really, I'll have to check it out. But yeah, yeah, for me, it's my standard is if I have too many energy drinks, maybe my work slows down. But for Asa, maybe he can have as much energy drinks as he wants because that's not his standard. His standard is gym. So I think everyone has different standards. And as long as you don't realize you're like I don't know your own standard and feeling bad about yourself because you're not hitting it, then you got to self-reflect on that and make sure you're doing the right things for you. But
Yeah.
and maybe that
Yeah.
long answer, but I think that kind of hits it.
No, it's not. I think it was the appropriate amount because what I took from that and what I hope everybody at home takes from that too is that it's about doing something. It has nothing to do with going to the gym, lifting the weight, put it on a PR. It's about, hey, I say I'm going to do something, so then I'm going to do it. And like
Yeah,
building up that trust with yourself. What I see with a lot of people in my life that are kind of struggling with a sense of purpose, they're struggling getting any sort of thing going is they say they're going to do something and when the time comes to doing it they don't do it, and it puts them in this cycle of like lying to themselves, setting themselves
yeah,
up for failure, proving themselves right, setting themselves up for failure, proving themselves right, and they can't break that cycle, which is why everybody used to say like making the bed was the most important thing that you could do in the morning, because
yeah,
that starts a cycle of doing something that you said you were going to do. Making the bed leads to brushing your teeth leads to making breakfast leads to the gym
yeah,
leads to a productive day. And if you could just start that ball, everything else keeps going. Like I'm very much like Asa. If I don't go to the gym in the morning, like I have so much ADHD and just like I need to move, that if I don't go in, I'm antsy the rest of the day. Um,
makes sense.
and that's just purely like an energy thing. I have to get out. I need to be so exhausted by the time I'm worked that only my brain is working. My muscles can't
Yeah,
move anymore. And that's just how I operate. But I also know that if I say I'm going to do something on a sore day, like I'll catch myself before I go to bed. Like, I'm not going to do that. No, tomorrow's a rest day. I'm going to do 10 minutes of stretching in the morning instead
yeah,
and then
yeah,
walk in. And if I can get a run in later, great, but no pressure tomorrow. So I don't set myself up for failure like that and end up
yeah,
lying to myself because I know it creates that cycle.
yeah, yeah. Like you say, "Hey, like I know I'm feeling really sore, and like, but whatever. I'm gonna go to the gym." You wake up, you don't go to the gym. I would say that's less poisonous for you than pre-setting up good expectations for yourself. Like, hey, I at least I know I'm going to do something. I'm going to stretch, go on a walk, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And again, that's the standard you have for yourself, which is why it's important for you to do that. Which I think is people have to figure out what's important to them. Um,
Yeah.
Same for me. I got to-do list. Like I had two long form videos I wanted to record yesterday that I pushed over to today, and it's just like, you're like, dang. Like, so it's your own, it's whatever standard you have set for yourself, and you just gotta dissect yourself, know what's important to you. And if it's something that's not important to you, you can't focus on everything at once. You gotta
Yeah.
kind of, again, seasons. I think seasons is huge, figuring out kind of your season. And the
Yeah.
way you want to structure your life early on is huge. I would say I don't really know my seasons quite yet, but I
Mhm.
think you map that out. You can be such a productive person in every area of life, health, financially, relationships. Like me, when I was gone in Texas for a while, it gave me a lot of time to kind of look back and dissect my relationship with my girlfriend, and just kind of look at, yeah, I want that to be a important part in my life, but I didn't really have a season for it. I'm like, okay, I have a season for everything I'm doing financially, my health. Why is she more so on the back burner? And it's like you kind of gotta analyze, maybe, and the truth just might be that she was just third on the importance list of money, health than her. But you kind of got to look at, like, there's seasons for that where maybe she might be number one. And I think that's also too a huge thing with stress, and maybe you'd be able to agree, is just having someone, and I don't know what your wife does, but having someone to just completely, um, and this is completely against red pill narrative, 100% for sure. Asa does not agree. But having someone to just reset with, that doesn't even know what's going on. Like they
Oh
they
yeah.
don't, like, like I can't sit with Asa on the couch and not talk about business. It's just not happening. Like
Yeah.
it's just impossible. And I'm fine with that. That I'm there for that. I'm in that realm, and I love that. But let's say I go to my girlfriend's house, it's like I just, if I want to, and I had an issue with this, we had to talk, like, I'd bring the laptop over there, and I'm just, like, working. Like, I'm like, "I gotta get this done, like, I just give me a second,"
Yeah.
like, her family's eating dinner at the table, I'm on the couch on my laptop, like, kinda, like, stuff like that. And, I kinda realized I was stabbing myself in the back, because when I started not taking my laptop, and I've gotten way better at this now, if I realize my input's just completely dropping, like, if I find myself on my laptop just clicking from a tab to another tab, like, I'll catch myself not even doing anything. I'm like, boom, just close laptop. Because if I don't do it quick, I'm just gonna keep, like, just finding
Yep.
that small little thing to do every here and there. So I literally just gotta shut the laptop and literally just, like, walk away from the computer. And I think that's been huge, is realizing, and Alex Hormozy talks about it too, is when your input's dropping, you can get higher ROI things out of other stuff. So for me, it's, I would say hanging out with my girlfriend allows me to just completely even forget, about the fires in the business for the most part, unless it's something, crazy huge that maybe I need some input on, which is, I would say rare. But she allows me to just be like, yeah, like she doesn't even, I can't even talk to her about anything 'cause she wouldn't even know what's going on in the first place. So it allows me
Yeah.
to reset. And that's, I would say a lot of people with a significant other, I would honestly say maybe have less anxiety, as business owners, unless that person is getting in the way. I would
Yeah.
say, because she's very, no, like, you do, like, whatever, like, I don't want to hold you back from doing what you want. I got to understand the line there. She'd let me not see her for like weeks on end because she
Yeah.
wouldn't want to sabotage me, but I got to understand, like, okay, you're probably like, she probably is like in a bad like spot right now, because, so you got to understand that as the significant other. But if a good partner is huge in business, and I'm sure you can 100%
Yeah.
um
Oh,
agree there.
100%. And I agree with you actually wholeheartedly. The Some of my best ideas, some of my best like problem solving solutions have come after a really rough day, shutting my laptop, my wife and I watching a movie, me bringing up the problem, and her being like, "Oh, well, why don't you just do that?" Like, "Oh, yeah. Why don't I
Yeah,
just do that?"
yeah,
And like there's nothing else that can do that. And as of recently, well, like the last 9 months, like I've been in a season of sales recently. I've been trying to master sales because I want to put together a sales team this year. I've been doing it all myself. Um, so I'm like, okay, lots of cold calls, lots of just hitting the phones and figuring out what this is like. So, a couple hundred dials a day, plus logging and notes and 500 emails all by hand,
oh wow,
150 SMS, and I'm just testing things to try to figure out what this looks like. And
yeah,
nothing is better than closing my office day, and then I'll walk out and my daughter's play yard is like right outside my office door, and she'll look up at me and just smile, be like, "Okay, all right, we're good. The day is
That's
over."
so good. That's
And
awesome.
it's like I'm not sure if I would have that. Like going to the gym can kind of reset you, going for a walk, listening to music, but my brain will still just go. Can't shut
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Those two people that I have that are in the other room right now are the only two things that can completely bring me back down to earth, come up with a new creative idea for a complex solution or for a complex problem, go back to it the next day.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And not to cut you off there, were you gonna say
No,
something
you
else too?
didn't. No, keep
Okay.
go ahead, man.
Cool. Yeah, I completely agree. And again, completely against the red pill narrative. And I do think
Is it
like
though?
input does
Is it against the
I,
red
I
pill narrative? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I do see of the fair share of individuals. I mean, you look at Alex, but she works within the company. I doubt they're rare. I know he says they reset and watch movies, but a lot of the time, I'm sure they're talking about business. I don't know many. I would say it's a very red pill to just be like fuck women, grind,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
distractions. You know what I mean? Um, but there is a large amount of people out there that do there's just data behind a good significant other and what they can do for you. Um, I think it's very hard to tap into so much productivity where a girlfriend would be a distraction. I think it's or a wife. I think it's no one. I do not. I think a very small echelon of business owners are in that I can be productive for 12 hours phase. Like that is a there that is a very slim amount of people. So you're almost just fooling yourself if at the beginning stages of business you think you can actually put in a 14-hour, even
Yeah.
12-hour day completely productive. I understand when you're building, you got to have those days of just figuring stuff out, being in front of the laptop. Like when I was starting, like, sure, you got to pull off the 14-hour days, the 16-hour days screen time, but you have to dissect the situation and understand you're not being productive. You're just doing it to understand the work that needs to be done. Like when you're first starting out, it's a lot of low leverage stuff. You're doing just maybe a presentation, putting a script together, finding leads. Like that stuff all takes a lot of time out of your day. But now the position I'm in right now, I'm able to clearly dissect what's higher leverage and not. And I'd be fooling myself if I was like, I can seriously hyper focus on the important things to grow the business for 12, 14 hours a day. Um, and Alex Hormozy talks about that he has like a graph for it or something, but you have you're working and then it starts to dip down. You get to that point where your input starts to dip down, and then
Hmm.
he's like, it's higher leverage for me to go watch a Netflix movie with Layla because it's just that's a bucket in my life that I want filled. So like if business starts peaking during the day, it's higher leverage for me to go for in your example, hang out with my wife and my kid because that's a bucket that I want filled. Now, if you didn't care about your wife and your kid at all, maybe it makes more time to keep working past that leverage mark where you drop productivity. But Alex even says that, and someone like Alex is it's huge hearing that come from too, which is he's like, yeah, I know when I start fatiguing and it's higher ROI for me personally to go hang out with Layla and maybe watch a movie. And I think that's huge. Understanding when your productivity is gonna drop or is
Yeah.
dropping, and it's more higher leverage for me to go enjoy the time with Addison, or go do something with Addison because that's a bucket I want to fulfill is relationships. So
Yeah.
I think that's a
Dude,
huge one.
that's so genius. If you
Yeah,
find that graph, I'm gonna look for it too. Could you send that to me?
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
love
It
to
was
see
in a
that.
recent video. Yeah, yeah.
I'd love
He
to
uh
share that
he he
video.
talks about it. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I don't know if he has an exact graph or maybe he was just kind of explaining it in a YouTube video, but yeah, he talks about that one and I think that one's huge for anyone with other distractions. Yeah, like you're fooling yourself if you think you can be 100% productive. So find that point where you're fatiguing and go put things and other things that you enjoy and you want um to be good part of your life. And I know what are the three buckets? Health, wealth, relationships. If
Yep.
you find you
Health,
start to
wealth, love,
fatigue,
and faith.
yeah, there you go. So if you find you start to fatigue in the business, and maybe it makes sense for you to go work out because you want that to be a bucket. If you're fatiguing in the gym, oh, these 2-hour sessions aren't making as much sense for me now because I know more. I have a better split. Like I know more. Whatever it is, I'm not very educated in that realm, then maybe it makes sense for me to cut my workout 30 minutes shorter and start working earlier. Like you got to just look at when are you fatiguing? When doesn't it make sense to continue doing that thing when you could get higher leverage out of another bucket you want to fill, I think
Yeah.
is a big one.
I feel like that's like the true thought process of an entrepreneur. Instead of going to a job where you work 7 to 4 because those are prime hours for that business, where you're told what to do at a certain time
Yeah.
because of all the data, you as the entrepreneur have to be like, okay, I'm going. Oh, it's dropping off. Okay, time to go do something else, produce high
Yep.
leverage there. Oh, it's dropping off. So
Exactly,
genius.
exactly. I think, yeah, and I think probably the most common one, and this is probably like what you got going on right now, and similar for me, is I got the gym in the morning for the most part, and I'm there until I really just don't want to be there anymore. I get my workout done, whatever. I realize I'm fatiguing. Okay, I come home, I work. I'm working until I realize I'm fatiguing. Okay, I'm hanging out with Addison. So I think that's huge. Like you can't. It's so silly to think that and people can do this, but you have to achieve the focus to be able to work longer in the higher input. Um, but you got to figure out when you start fatiguing and just understand if you have other buckets you want to fill, then it's your time spent better in other areas. But if you have no other buckets to fill, then cool. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
keep working then. Then keep working.
Working like 16-hour days right off the bat is same of walking into the gym on day one and trying to put up a 450 squat. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. Or like a 2.5 hour workout trying to be like
Yeah.
a Olympia or something.
Yeah, you're gonna burn out in 2 days and you're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And with your
Yeah.
business, you're gonna burn out in 2 days and you're never gonna want to do it again.
Yeah. And I think what Alex Hormozy says too about, at the beginning stages, you do have to work, like you have to, you're figuring stuff out. So you got to put those days in, but you have to understand what you're doing. Like you can't, when you're first starting out, you got to like, it's going to feel like you're being productive, but you have to like realize you're kind of not going to be working on the right things at the beginning, which it's hard to do because we're uneducated at the beginning. We don't know what's right or wrong, or we'd be doing the right things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk, since you're in the real estate space, I want to talk directly to the agents a little bit because I'm not sure if you know this or not, but I'm to learn sales. I'm actually currently employed with one of the largest lead generation companies as an inside sales agent
Nice.
within the real estate space. So I
Oh,
know very loud and clear that 99% of your job is coaching agents into make decisions that they're not ready to make.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
what would you say to an agent that knows that they have a problem, they have no leads, they have no business, 2024 was awful, the election fucked them up, whatever excuse that they're going to give you today?
Yeah.
How do you coach these agents into reframing them and to say, hey, you're now a business owner, you're not a consumer anymore, we need to grow this?
Yeah. That's the big thing is that a lot of real estate agents, the way they get into the business is how much does it cost to get your real estate license? Maybe 1,500, $1,000. I don't
1500,
know.
yeah, $1,000, something like that.
Yeah. So a lot of them are consumers. They aren't business owners. So I actually read a book, one of Alex Hormozy's earlier books, where he was teaching gyms how to sell to consumers because I was like, we're selling to a consumer. Like a real estate agent is
Yeah.
almost like a consumer. So you have to understand that too have to come out of this consumer phase and get into your I'm building a business phase. You have to understand like it's got to be a big mindset shift for you too. Like you're not just going to be selling real estate. This is not just paperwork and legal and real estate. This is finding clients, servicing clients. This is a business. So it's a huge mindset shift. And a lot of agents are led into real estate not understanding it's a business. That's what's wrong, is a lot of them don't even know they're getting into business, or maybe they'd be like, oh, I don't want to run a business. I thought this was just like I just do real estate deals or something. I think that's like literally how a lot of agents get into it.
Yeah.
I do not think 90% of agents think that they are getting into like business.
Yeah,
And so you
I
have
agree.
to understand that you're going to be running a business. That's finding strangers, providing a service, and turning them into a customer. A lot of agents only get the business that comes to them because they don't know how to acquire clients. They get the referrals, the sphere of influence, the repeats. Um, and they wonder why business is inconsistent because us as business owners is if we get a referral, that's like great. I don't even I referral is not even a thing in my like category of importance at all in the business. So agents tend to do it backwards. They get the referrals first, and then they're like, "Oh, I never want to deal with cold traffic. If if I can crack this, this is like great. But they don't realize that referrals and stuff is it's completely inconsistent. It's unpredictable. You have to hope someone recommend. You can provide 1,000 out of 100 job for someone, and they still not recommend you. Their sister is a real estate agent. You can do like such a great job, provide the best service on the planet, and this person still might not recommend you. That would like piss me off as a real estate agent. It's like I can do my job to the top of the line and still maybe not got business from this person like next time. So you have to understand how to turn strangers into clients. How to take some random person looking for a home off the street that doesn't have an agent and make them not make them, but give them a reason and have the system in place where they're like, you can provide value the no agents provide value. They just like, oh, let me set you up on a home search. Every agent setting a lead up on a home search. You are no special than the 10,000 other agents that's setting leads up on home searches. Let's say a lead, it's a cold lead that comes in and one's going through a divorce, one's a first time home buyer. Those priorities and their what's important to them as home buyers is completely different. This person doesn't even want to know what's happening. They're going through one of the most heart-wrenching like things in their life. This person is just wants to be informed about everything. Hey, what's going on? Like, this is my very first home. So if you say, cool, let me set you up on a home search, these people do not like they just got the same response and they're in completely different need situations. So if you come to this person and say, no worries. You won't even know this is happening. I understand the situation that you're going through and how hard this is for you. I'm going to make sure that you know everything A to Z so you won't even notice this is happening, how the way that this is going to work. That's going to be so much different to this person going through a divorce than a home search. As well as this first time home buyer, you're going to know absolutely everything you need to know about your first property. You're going to be completely informed. Have you spoke to a specialist about this before? No. Okay, well, those consultations are like completely free nowadays. You can do it from the comfort of your own home. You're going to run over XYZ, everything you need to know. Make sure you're not getting blindsided by any fees, contract fees, anything like that. And you're just completely in the know, market insight, all that stuff. Would you maybe have 30 minutes virtual? I can set you up for one of those. Like that's so much different than like, let me set you up on a home search or have you had a buyer consultation yet? Like you're going a little bit deeper into what's
Yeah.
their actual need and explaining like what you have in your arsenal as an agent to provide that for them. And that's what so many agents are missing. We do live transfers. So we hear these pitches every single day. It's they get the lead on the line. It's okay, cool. What are you looking for? They'll re-ask the questions we already just asked. So you as an inside sales agent, you're asking the, hey, what are you looking for? What's your budget? Are you pre-approved? All that stuff. You transfer to the agent, they ask the exact same questions. And it's like, okay, well, now one, you're annoying the lead, and that stuff's really not even important. You just need to figure out where they're at and where they want to be. So what we tell our agents is as soon as you get on that live transfer phone, we're going to send you the notes that we just collected. That's the whole point of our job. We're going to send you their budget. We're going to send you their time frame, what they're looking for. You simply just need to see, hey, just got the call over from ISA. We can definitely help you out. I guess can you tell me a little bit more about your situation? Like, what are you looking for? I just want to make sure we actually can help you out and we would be a good fit. And you got to go deeper. That's what's so great about live transfers. And the service like that we provide specifically is because it allows you to be on a phone call with someone, which means you can go deeper and you can actually get more out of them, which positions you in a better area on the chessboard than all these agents that maybe just got them in through a cold lead form. You're having a legit conversation, so you need to gather as much information as possible on this lead, their motivation, so you can be like in your emails, in your text, positioning their dream to like you're the bridge or you're the plane that can get them there. And that's what so many agents are missing is just they think they're valuable because they're real estate agents. Like they're not. None of them have like offers. None of them have anything different that they're offering to these leads than any of the other agents. That's the biggest thing I see is you need to dissect how you can be valuable to a home buyer or home seller that's different from all these other thousands of agents that are licensed in your city saying the exact same thing. And why would a cold prospect go with you? Ask yourself that question. Why would someone random that doesn't know you go with you? And a lot of agents can't say that because the only business they get is just referred to them by friends and stuff. And that's that's the hard part with agents is they need to understand that they're running a business. Like they need to understand that it's not that they're winning this. They have to. I get this all the time. I don't want to win over my business. It's like,
What do you
what
mean?
do you mean? What do you mean you don't want to have to convince that person? Like you're in business. Like that's the whole game of business is convincing a stranger that's qualified, that obviously like needs your service, to use your service. Like, what are you saying? So that's just such a mindset shift agents have. They think because they're getting referrals, that they're doing the business like backwards, because they get the referrals first. They don't. Why would you? If I got a referral as my first client for the SMMA, I'd be like, well, I have to send cold emails to strangers and they're telling me to F off. I don't want to do that. Just give me more referrals. How do I get more referrals? So I can see how it can be difficult to want to go do something else. But if you want to grow the business at all, you have to start dissecting, learning, reading on how to turn strangers into clients, and not just keep trying to expand off your referral and your sphere, because it just doesn't work. I think
Yeah,
that's a huge thing.
it's not scalable.
It is not at all. Like it is to a certain degree, but it's a very terrible way to do it. Like it's a trash way to do things, and they're so psyop too, because all the brokerages tell them, like all the big bro. I don't know why they do. They tell them that, to do the referrals and stuff, and I think it's just because the whole industry is just it's just not a very business. The people at the top are doing it right. They know what they're doing, and that's why they're at the top. But the 90% are getting like ran over and destroyed because they just don't know how to turn strangers into clients.
Yeah. And if, and even less of a percentage, maybe 2% of the 10% are doing the things that we talked about today, like taking care of their health, wealth, love, and faith, pushing themselves, learning things. I would say less than 1% are actually doing those things that are going to be successful going into the new year.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, like I said, like real estate agents are your average person. I'm not saying this like in a bad way, like they just don't realize they're getting into business. So it takes someone a little bit different, a little bit more risk adverse to say, I'm jumping into business. They think this is like a pure set fine like career. Like they think they're literally going to like sell real estate or something. Like they think, like I swear, like the agents we get, they think like they were getting to like a salary job or something.
Yeah,
Like they don't
they
even
do.
realize that they're going to have to literally be business owners. And so that's why I think it's so difficult, and why the statistics are so against them. Like what is it? Like 90, what's the 96% of agents
No,
fail within the
yeah,
first 5 years?
97% of agents fail in the first 18 months.
Yeah. So it's like, who looks at that statistic and says, I'm going to be a real estate agent?
No
I
one.
mean,
Apps.
right.
Well, actually, apparently 1.3 million people a year.
Yeah, that's what's confusing me, because people will look at how many business owners fail within the first 18 months. It's probably a similar statistic. It might even be like less. But business has a more broad understanding. Hey, business is hard. Hey, business is going to be tough. Hey, business is scary. Business is risky. No one says that about a real estate agent. Hey, being a real estate agent is risky. It's scary. It's tough. Same thing with lawyers. I think like lawyers have to find their clientele right too, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
I bet it's a very same dilemma with lawyers. But the thing with lawyers is they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to get their career, and agents paying 2K. So it's like someone that's going to be a lawyer might dissect it more. I mean, what am I going to be getting myself into? What am I going to be studying? What am I going to have to do to be successful as a lawyer? As an agent, it's no risk. It's $1,000, $2,000. Let me just go give it a try. There's no risk there. So yeah, I think that's the big issue, is that just a lot of people get into it and they think they're going to try it. It's a very easy way to get into business, just as SMMA is, I would say. I would say the failure rate on SMMA is very, very higher than a brick and mortar like food chain, because it's much higher barrier to entry to get into food or the restaurant industry than SMMA. Like, so I think that's the same thing with real estate agents. Real estate agents is like the SMMA. Um, like, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah.
like maybe
Since
like a
there's a lower.
lawyer.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
get what
yeah,
you're
like a
trying to say.
lawyer might be like a food, like there's much higher barrier to entry to get into that business. SMA, you literally get started for free. As for my example, a kid in your parents in your bedroom phoning someone for free off the phone you have, like, and selling them for free. Like it's so easy to get into. I think that's the same thing with real estate agents.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100% agree. Everybody, what was the old saying for real estate agents? It's like real estate agents are the most overpaid people on the planet. Overpaid and underworked. It's like, but
I
that
don't
has just
know. Have I
completely
seen that?
changed. Oh, I've been
Yeah,
told that by
yeah.
a few old grumpy dudes.
Oh,
Um,
really?
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, I'm the most overpaid, underworked person ever." I'm like, "Oh, all
And when
right.
you
Well,
get
I'm
to that,
go ahead."
go ahead. When you get to that point, when you are getting the referrals, because there's a lot of agents that have been in business for 10, 15, 20 years, when you do start getting those referrals and maybe you have to work less, but those agents are telling the younger agents that are just getting their license, hey, just focus on your referrals, just focus on your, and these younger people are just getting demolished because they're like, why is my business not growing? Why? And they're not even reaching out to strangers.
Yeah.
They're not even reaching out to strangers. They're going to like Asa had this lady that said she goes and plays pickleball, and that's her marketing. Like, she goes and plays pickleball, and she talks to people, and she tells them she's a real estate agent. Like, that's what you're competing against. Like, do one Facebook ad and reach out to those people and have value in place, and that's the huge mindset shift so many of our partners have. They're like, "Holy crap," like, even if they don't close something, they'll be like, "Wow, I'm having conversations, like, with people, like, strangers that literally came off the internet." It's like, yeah, now but you have to provide value or they're going to ghost you. You can't just set them up on a home search. You can't say, "Call me back." You can't say, "Save my number." They're not going to. They don't care about you. You have to explain, and you have to have value in place. Again, it has to be for that specific person. It has to be for their specific needs, so on that phone call, tell them you can get them where they need to go. And if you're going to book in a second commitment, there needs to be confirmations, reminders. These agents don't even have reminders set up in place or confirmation text. Like so many of our agents we work with, they're like, okay, I booked them in, or I'm sending them to my lender. It's like, okay, do they know why they're going there? Do they know the real reason, the real
Yeah.
value? We have so much drop off from leads that go from, hey, yeah, I spoke to them. They're getting connected with my lender. What happened to that lead? Don't know. They ghosted. Couldn't get in contact with my lender. Well, okay, there's a lot of reasons there. Like it could be too quick. Did you gauge the lead? Like, is that too quick for them? Like we have a guy in Nashville that's crushing it with virtual consultations. He doesn't even say anything about the lender or anything. He just provides value first. He says, "Cool. Well, let's do a virtual consultation. Just make sure you're in the know. You know everything you need to know, and it would even make sense for us to really talk about further steps because I want to make sure that you're taken care of." Does the virtual consultation, and then he can make all his ask after he's already given value. When we have a agent that says, "Cool, let me get you connected with the lender," all the lead hears is, "Let's see if you can get me money." That's all
Yeah.
they hear. "Let's see if
Yeah.
you can get me money." And the lead's probably just like, "Can I just get some value? Like, can I just get some, like, value from this person? Like, aren't they supposed to be, like, helpful?" And all
Right.
you wanna do as an agent is say, "Hey, can you qualify to give me money?"
Yeah.
That lead
It's the
is
old
ghosting you.
Gary V thing. It's jab, 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 hook. You got to give away four pieces of value before you can ask anything.
Exactly, exactly, and so many agents think, like, getting them connected with a lender is, like, helpful. It's really not like a it's a helpful step, but the lead doesn't see that as helpful. They see that as, "Can you qualify to give me your money?" That's all they see it as, like,
Yeah.
when an agent says that. So, you have to, and a lot of the time, they don't even they're scared about going to the lender because they don't know what this entails. Am I committing to something? Like, my girlfriend's, sister is buying a house, and she was asking me these questions because she was going to go do a showing. She was like, "Wait, so do I have to use them? Like, what's gonna happen?" Like, these people are uneducated. They're like, "Hold up." Like, now if they're especially if they're a first-time home buyer, if they've already been through the process, that's maybe a little bit different. But a lot of these people are like, "Wait, I'm moving quick." Like, it's scary for them. Like, you have to understand, like, and tell them, like, "Hey, this is no commitment whatsoever. Like, I just want to see if we can actually help you out for your specific situation, run you over how we do things. If we're a great fit, great. If not, then I do have a few other agents that might be able to help you with what they have in their arsenal. Like, and refer it off if worst case scenario, you can't help them, but you have to provide value first. And that's what the industry is missing is nobody provides value at all. They think that this person just should go with them because they're a realtor. I don't understand it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think you might have just answered my last question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How I like to wrap up every show is one piece of advice for. Let's talk to real estate agents specifically, since that's what you do. You're talking to a new agent right now. What is one piece of advice that you could give them that's going to make them successful going into this new year?
Yeah. Um, Yeah, I think it's really as simple. It's not simple, but you've got to learn how to convert cold traffic. Like you've got to learn how to convert cold traffic. The referrals are going to come if you do a good job. You're doing it backwards if you're chasing referrals first. You have no proof of concept. You have no reason to even be getting referrals. If your first 3 years in business, like even 5 years, whatever, like how egotistical do you have to be to think like I deserve referrals? I deserve people from my sphere to want to give me their money. You have to give them reason to first. You have to show them, hey, I'm a good agent. And really the only way to get referrals is to be good at what you do. And to do that, you have to get reps in. And so I would really, really strongly just recommend, and all the top like people recommend this too that are in marketing, is you have to learn how to convert strangers into clients, and you're going to get 10 times more referrals than you could ever even imagine doing that, because you're going to be getting 10 times the business. So learn how to convert complete strangers into clients. I think that might even be a quote, but if it's not, it's my quote. Then you'll be rich forever if you can learn how to do that.
Yeah, I want to say that's like a Hermosi. That's a Hermosi thing,
Yeah.
or whoever he took it from. Um, Man,
Yeah.
I totally agree. Well, where can people book a call with you? Where can agents get in touch with you? How can we get some business flowing your way so you can help as many people as possible?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So the website is pretty simple. It's amassestate.io. So AMASSESTATE.io. There's some free sources on there. If you're not quite yet ready to book a call, there's some free videos on the YouTube channel. I just kind of see what we do, how we do it, and even if it's not doesn't make sense for you to book a call, how you might be able to take the videos and start implementing stuff yourself, which I would highly recommend. If you're not already doing over 12 transactions a year, it might not make sense for you to partner with us quite yet. But if you're newer to the real estate game, I think it's almost maybe a waste of your time to hire a company like this. I think you should try to start implementing these things yourself, and learn these skills yourself. What I would recommend to any new real estate agent, first year, second year, third year in the game, is try to build these systems out yourself. You have a lot of time, and really, if you can build anything out in house, it's usually a lot better. If you don't have the time, if you have more money than time, then maybe it makes sense to book a call with us. But yeah, that's the website, amassestate.io. So you can find us.
Awesome. And I'll make sure I put all that in the show notes. And
Cool.
any resources that Mason has for people listening at home, I will be putting that in the show notes as well. Feel free to reach out to me at undeniable@thelegacycreatornetwork.com if you have any questions or anything like that. And you can always, of course, message us on Instagram at @BraxtonCurtis_. Hey, thanks everybody for listening. Chat with you next week.
No, we never ever leave. Run the show, whoa, whoa, enemies. Never know